He is a baseball Hall of Famer, first ballot guy, John Smoltz, back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, John?
Good afternoon. Doing good.
Oh, my gosh. What in the hell happened in the seventh inning last night, John Smoltz? That was totally insane.
Yeah, it was. Thankfully for the Nationals, the two-run homer takes the sting out of that. They came off a game where they were a little bit upset with the game before and some things that didn't go their way and strike zone and, what could have been, should have been stuff. But you know what? At the end of the day, the Washington Nationals have some kind of resilience that I haven't seen in a long time. To have 4 elimination games played in the postseason, I can't remember another team that's been able to do something like that. And I got to give them a lot of credit, man. They're the emotions of the game. You get lost in it sometimes. They were able to, with the most quietest heartbeat guy, who was probably the right guy to come up after all that commotion, Rendon, and he hits that two-run homer, and you wouldn't know if he won the lottery or he just lost 3 dogs, because he's definitely a guy who can play to one beat of the drum. So it's the eye of the beholder. I get it. It's the most controversial rule we have, and some debate, I'm sure, in the offseason on what to do and how this play could be altered and viewed differently. It's not quite like the pass interference play in the NFL, but it's pretty close.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up the NFL, John, because to me, I started the show by saying that I agreed with the call. That I thought that Turner, did run the base paths just like virtually every Major League Baseball runner trying to beat it on down the line does. But he did. There was contact made with the first baseman, whether the throw did or not. And the issue that I have is Major League Baseball does not require its umpires to do what NFL refs are required to do, which is to get on a microphone and explain to everybody what they've seen and what the ruling is, and then move on. If they could only do that, I think that might quell a lot of the confusion and angst and anxiety of the whole situation.
Yeah, there's no doubt that's been another topic for a lot of people, wanting that to take place. And there are some moving parts with that. It is a little bit different, but I believe that eventually something like that needs to be explained, maybe by somebody up in the booth that's a former umpire that can at least give the verbiage to the announcer that can give the fans something to know what's going on. And again, this is a bang sport. The guy behind the home plate is dealing with 99, 98 miles an hour and breaking balls, and strike zone's been a little bit iffy, if to say the least. This World Series, bang plays at first. We saw it. It's a hard sport, and I think though at this level, with this much on the line, I just think there's got to be some reconsideration for certain things to be looked at that are currently not being looked at under the rules of replay. And I don't think anyone would have a problem with that if they expanded, whether it's did the ball hit the bat on a foul ball swing and a miss, strike 3,
right? Or
the judgment calls. I get it. I understand why you open up a huge box of judgment calls, then become, more ability to look at those things. And I don't have the answer to that, but I think there'll be some discussion. And like I said, we're talking about it, but it's not to the degree that it could have been if that game stayed a 1-run game and somehow, some way, Washington wasn't able to win it. They were winning when that play and that call was made. They weren't losing, but then all of a sudden you start feeling the carryover of the game before, and you could understand why they were angry.
John Smoltz, Baseball Hall of Famer, and calling the game with Joe Buck. You guys you're such a great listen and great watch. I've really enjoyed it. And just one last on this subject before we turn the page to tonight. Again, having the umpires put the headsets on when you're saying it on the broadcast, this is not reviewable, right? And then just only adds to the confusion. Then the ump just gives an out sign, and we're supposed to interpret what the hell all that stuff means. And that sort of material needs to be worked out. It all does start with the contact at the base. Do you think the ball was purposefully thrown at the runner? You did say during the broadcast last night, this is what you as a pitcher are taught to do. Do you think that actually happened, or it was just a bang-bang, mere happenstance that the ball wound up where it did?
Yeah, it was bang-bang. The plays down the line closer to first base line, whether it's the catcher throwing or a pitcher coming over to field it, those are the ones you got to try to throw and get it in the line in case you get the call. I mean, that's what we were taught. You throw it right at the back of the runner. And some out like it did last night for the Astros in a way where either Gurriel could have got his glove out in front and got the ball a little bit easier, but all that led to making it look like it was worse than it was. And that's the biggest, toughest scenario to kind of quantify. And I think, look, I've heard all kinds of suggestions. I've heard get the softball base, get the base more in foul territory for the runner, so that the runner has a better lane. Because when you're running for a base hit, you would never run like that because you would run to round the bag, right? If you're going for a double, you would never run like that because you're running to go for a double. But when you're trying to beat out an infield hit, that's where you're running. And so that's the difference on those plays when you would be outside the line and you would be making your turn. But the fastest way to a base, and when it's a bang-bang play, is straight. So that would help. If the base was more in foul territory, it would give the base runner a part of the bag to go to, and it would give the infielder the ability to have the bag. So maybe I've heard that being said and thrown around. Maybe that helps.
A few more minutes I'll have left with you, John Smoltz. Let's turn to tonight. What type of Scherzer do you think we're going to get, John?
It's really interesting because every pitcher has been through similar things that he has. Adrenaline will get him through the early part of the game. If he's physically loose and able to do what he wants to do, then I think he'll be fine. He'll be amped up. But I think there will be some residual soreness, no doubt. We've all pitched with discomfort, and you just, at least he's getting an opportunity to pitch. I mean, you just felt terrible for him when he couldn't go the day that he was asked to go and woke up. You just hate that. And now at least the Nationals got their wish. They wanted Scherzer and Strasburg to pitch again if they were going to get this series to a Game 7, and they're going to have Scherzer pitch Game 7 with a little bit more backup now. If you think about it, they're going to have Corbin, Sanchez. They're going to have the best formula for them to win, aside from them being up 2-0 when they went home, with the best formula to win. So, again, we've never seen anything like this. We've never seen a series where every home game has been lost.
Right.
And I've never seen anything quite like this series on the swings of emotion and the swings of a series that have kind of gone it's basically the series of the unexpected. Just when you think you're going to expect something, just the opposite happens, and that's what the series has turned into.
Well, and you have been on, unfortunately, the wrong end of an unexpected Game 7 situation. When you started in 91, you went up against a bulldog pitcher, which I think you can describe Scherzer as, and Jack Morris, who went 10. And it was a 1-0 final in one of the greatest World Series Game 7s we've ever seen. What is it like to pitch in a pressure situation like that and get matched 0 for 0s like that, John? What is that like?
Well, it should be the game you've dreamed of your whole life, and I did. I mean, I make no bones about it. I wanted to be in every type of seventh game there was. I think it's the greatest game in the world. I think the hardest game in the world is when you're not playing in a Game 7, because you have no control and your stomach's in knots and you're at the mercy of whatever your teammates are doing. And the crowd's going to be super loud. See, here's the way I've always broken it down. You're going to have a loud crowd one way or another. If you're the home team, you got to deal with it. You can't let it get you too amped up. If you're the visiting team, you got to deal with it, and you got to get it to a dull roar. But it's going to be loud. And if that's the one area that you can control, the dullness of the roar or the loudness of the roar are going to indicate and determine how you're doing. Because if you don't take the crowd out of it, they're going to be loud. You're going to be fighting the feeling of trying to pitch perfect. And there's no way that you can pitch a game trying to pitch perfect. And that's the one thing that guys have to fight against, because when you get a runner on first, for whatever reason in the postseason, you start feeling like that's a huge rally. You can't let that happen. You're a pitch away from a double play. You just can't get caught up in that everything, the magnification of this game, it makes you false read what's going on. And the person that can handle it and slow the heartbeat down is going to be the persons or the team that come out on top. I kind of think in a weird way, Zach Greinke and all that he is and what he kind of goes through and his personality might actually be a pretty good guy to have, because he's not really thinking too much about anything in his own way. He's unique, and, the game like this might not be that big of a deal to him.
Well, man, enjoy it, soak it in. Like I said, you and Joe are just such a great listen, and it's all good when you guys are calling a game. I can't wait to settle in tonight. Thanks for the call, John. Hit him straight tonight.
Yep. All right.
Take care. That's John Smoltz.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live, or download the Rich Eisen Show app.